Hello everyone, welcome to this series on the history of English literature. And in this video, we are going to discuss the Restoration comedy in the age of Dryden. Introduction. Restoration comedy, which flourished in England during the late 17th century, represents a significant chapter in the history of English literature. This period, which followed the return of Charles II to the throne in 1660, saw a dramatic resurgence in theatrical activity after the Puritans had closed the theatres in 1662. Restoration comedy, in particular, became a distinct genre that both reflected and critiqued the society of its time. It is characterized by wit, satire, and a focus on the manners and mores of the upper class, often with an emphasis on sexual intrigue and social hypocrisy. The influence of pre-Restoration and continental drama. Restoration comedy did not emerge in isolation. Rather, it evolved from the rich tradition of English drama that preceded it, particularly the works of Ben Jonson and the collaborations of Beaumont and Fletcher. These earlier dramatists influenced Restoration playwrights with their focus on character types and social satire. However, the Restoration era brought a new sensibility to comedy that was more cynical and worldly, reflecting the dissolute court life of Charles II and his contemporaries. In addition to native influences, Restoration comedy was heavily influenced by continental European playwrights, particularly the French dramatist Molière and the Spanish playwright Calderon. Moliere's emphasis on sharp social commentary and his use of intricate plots and comic characterizations were especially influential. However, English dramatists adapted these influences to create something distinctly their own, combining the structure and wit of French and Spanish drama with the more libertine and cynical spirit of the Restoration court. Characteristics of Restoration comedy. Restoration comedies are known for their wit, fast-paced dialogue, and intricate plots, often revolving around sexual intrigue and the complex social dynamics of the upper class. These plays are marked by a polished, intellectual style that replaces the romanticism and emotional depth of earlier English drama with a focus on satire and social critique. The language of Restoration comedy is characterized by its clarity and consciousness, adding sharpness and precision to the dialogue. The tone of these comedies is often cynical, reflecting a society that was skeptical of traditional moral values. This cynicism is evident in the frequent portrayal of characters who are more concerned with social standing and personal gain than with honor or virtue. The lack of genuine emotion and passion in these plays gives them a polished, almost cold quality, which paradoxically saves them from descending into outright licentiousness. Instead, the immortality depicted in these works is often intellectualized, making it more palatable to contemporary audiences. Themes and characterization. One of the defining features of Restoration comedy is its focus on types rather than fully developed individual characters. These types are often indicated by the characters' names, which are usually suggestive of their personalities or roles within the play. For example, Sir Fopling Flutter represents the vain and superficial fop, while Lady Bountiful embodies the benevolent, though often meddling aristocrat. This method of characterization owes much to the earlier comedy of humours popularized by Jonson, where characters were driven by a single dominant trait or humour. As the period progressed, Restoration comedy evolved into what is known as the comedy of manners. This genre is less about the portrayal of life in a realistic sense and more about the depiction of a sophisticated, genteel world where wit and social grace are paramount. The manner in Comedy of Manners refers to the behaviors, customs, and social norms of the upper class, which are often depicted by both affection and critique. The controversy and legacy of Restoration comedy. Restoration comedy was not without its critics. The most famous attack came from Jeremy Collier, a clergyman who published a short view of the immorality and profaneness of the English stage in 1698. Collier condemned the plays of the time for their perceived moral laxity, particularly their depictions of sexual immorality and irreverence toward religion. Although his critique was harsh and often lacking in literary insight, it struck a chord with a public that was becoming increasingly concerned with the moral implications of the theatre. Despite such criticism, the influence of Restoration comedy on subsequent English literature cannot be overstated. Playwrights like William Congreve and George Etheridge perfected the genre, creating works that are still celebrated for their wit, style, and social commentary. While the explicit sexual content and cynical tone of these plays have often been controversial, their legacy as sharp, sophisticated social critiques remain intact. Conclusion: Restoration comedy represents a unique period in English drama, characterized by its sharp wit, social satire, and focus on the manners and mores of the upper class. Influenced by both native and continental traditions, it developed into a genre that both reflected and critiqued the society of the late 17th century. Though often critiqued for its immorality, the best of Restoration comedy remains a testament to the enduring power of wit and satire in the English literary tradition. So this was the discussion on Restoration comedy in the age of John Dryden. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other topic. Until then, goodbye and thank you.